So this book actually made me lose sleep this week because it's so good. In the evenings, I would be reading this book and the stories are so captivating and the principles are so interesting that I would go way past my normal time of going to bed and still wake up at the same time every morning the following morning as Jocko is going to teach you. The book I read this week is Extreme Ownership: How Navy SEALs Lead and Win by Jocko, Willink and Leif Babin. Now these guys are both Navy SEALs. Jocko was the commander of SEAL Team 3's Task Unit Bruiser in the Battle of Ramadi, and Leif was a SEAL platoon commander. After serving their time in Iraq, both of these guys came back to the US and they were involved with training Navy SEALs. Jocko was the officer in charge of training for all West Coast Navy SEAL teams, and Leif was the primary leadership instructor for all officers graduating from SEAL team training pipeline. Now, all I'm trying to tell you here is that these guys know what they're doing. They've implemented these things in battle, they've seen whether they work, they've learned how to train them, and these days they've got their own business as well. They're teaching it to corporate clients in business. I've only taken 5 principles from the book that I'm going to highlight today. The first one is extreme ownership. Now, extreme ownership is sort of the undertone of this entire book. This is what underlies everything. And what Jocko says with extreme ownership is they had an incident where there was a friendly fire during one of their missions. And afterwards, he had to analyze it and say what went wrong. And he started going through it and saying that these guys didn't communicate the way that they should have. And these guys didn't move the way that they should have. But he realized that something was missing. And what was missing is that extreme ownership. He was in control of everything. He was the commander. And he had to take ownership of it to say this was my mission and my responsibility. And that's so important in your own life as well. You have to take extreme ownership for everything that's going good, but also everything that's going badly in your life, and change it. The second thing is that there are no bad teams, only bad leaders. The example they give for this one is that in the Navy SEAL training, there were 2 boat crews. And the one boat crew was winning everything, and the other crew was losing absolutely all the races. And what happens when you lose is you get a little bit of extra attention, a little bit of extra exercise. So these guys were suffering, and they decided something had to change. So they changed the leaders between these 2 boat crews. And what happened is after they changed the leaders, as they were coming down the final straight, it was these 2 boat crews duking it out for first position. So what really changed? All that changed was the leader. It isn't that the second boat crew was a bad crew. The leader in that crew just started blaming the other guys. So they blamed each other. Nobody took ownership. Nobody took extreme ownership of that. In the first crew, that leader was in the front. He was motivating his guys and he was really leading them. So that was the only real difference. It wasn't that the teams were bad. It was just that leader that was bad. The next point is believe. Believe is really, really important for anyone in any business. And what this teaches you, and what Jocko tells the story, is that in Iraq they were told that they have to involve Iraqi soldiers in all their missions. And they didn't know these guys, they didn't trust these guys. So Jocko had to believe, he had to understand why, as Simon Sinek would put it, why his commanders would tell him this. And I think all of us have gotten instructions from our bosses where we thought, why, what the hell, why are you telling me to do this? And they talk about leading up and down the chain of command in this book, where a leader has to lead from the top, but the guys from the bottom also have to lead. If you don't understand the why and you don't believe, you have to ask questions. It's your responsibility, because if you don't ask these questions, you're setting up your leader for failure. And by setting them up for failure, you're setting yourself up to fail as well. So Jocko had to understand this, and after he could understand it, he believed in it, and he could communicate it to the rest of his team. And he could make them believe in it as well. The next point is checking the ego. Now, checking the ego is not easy. Taking responsibility, even if something wasn't really your fault, is not going to be easy. But when you check your ego, it changes the conversation completely. If you walk into a meeting and you say, you did this wrong and you did that wrong, people are going to be on the defense. They're going to attack you back, and you're just going to end up having a massive argument. But if you check your ego, their egos are also going to be checked. If you say, maybe I didn't explain this correctly, let's discuss it. You're going to have a conversation. You're actually going to solve the problem, not just fight about it. The last point is discipline is freedom. Now, discipline is freedom is very important. I've talked about it as well. What Jocko says in this is the Navy SEALs have a lot of discipline in the way they operate and the way they do missions, and that discipline gives them the freedom to change. It gives them the freedom to have extra time. And in your own life, this is also applicable. In your own life, by waking up early, you give yourself extra time. By eating correctly, you give yourself more energy. By exercising regularly, you feel better, you're more motivated. So that discipline is going to give you freedom in your own life. This is a really, really interesting book. I think the whole principle of extreme ownership is a very interesting thing and very important principle to apply in your own life. Take extreme ownership. Extreme ownership of all the good in your life, but also the bad, all the good in your teams, and extreme ownership of what's going wrong in your teams, and fix it. Have those open conversations. Don't let your ego get in the way. I hope you guys enjoyed the summary. If you did, please like it and share it so other people can see it, and I'll be back next week with my following summary.